everyone, and welcome. There is still a lot of talk about PPE shortages for healthcare workers, even 3 months into the current COVID-19 crisis. In my last video, I talked about face masks and surgical masks and how FDA is planning to enforce their requirements for these medical devices in the current crisis. And their intention is to promote the availability and lower the regulatory requirement bar a little bit while taking into account the benefit-risk balance in light of this severe crisis. You can find that video on my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to focus on face shields and N95 respirators, which are also part of this guidance as important PPE for healthcare workers. So let's look into this. Here is the guidance that was just revised and came out last month. You can find that on FDA's website or you can Google it. Just to recap, here are the 3 different types of PPE considered to be medical devices: surgical masks, face shields, and respirators. Surgical masks provide barriers to fluids and particles, and they are also rated for flammability and biocompatibility. Face shield provides protection from splashes, let's say potentially infectious liquids, and it covers the eyes and face. Respirators is a special class in itself because they filter particles. It's also supposed to be very tightly fit around the nose and the mouth, so it provides real protection to the wearer. So let's look into the items covered in this revised FDA policy. The first item is face masks, face shields, and N95 respirators not intended for a medical purpose. And it's important because if you market your product like that, not intended for a medical purpose, then it's not considered to be a medical device and no limitations or requirements are imposed on that particular product from an FDA point of view. Face masks intended for a medical purpose that are not intended to provide liquid barrier protection. Then you have face shields intended for a medical purpose. Then you have surgical masks intended to provide liquid barrier protection. And you have alternatives when FDA cleared NIOSH approved N95 respirators are not available. This is very important because we have a severe limitation on availability right now. Then there is discussion on EUAs for face masks intended for a medical purpose, surgical masks, and N95 respirators. So I've already covered face masks and surgical masks in my other video. And as I said, you can find that on my YouTube channel. Here I'm going to focus on the face shield requirements and respirator requirements. So enforcement policy for face shields. The intended use has to be clearly defined. It's to be used for a medical purpose and provides protection against bodily fluids or infectious materials. It may be used with or without a face mask. Here are the requirements and very extensive requirements on labeling. Label and describe accurately as a face shield. No mislabeling expected. Include a list of body contacting materials. Does not contain materials causing flammability. Meet flammability requirements or label limitations such as do not use this when high heat intensity devices are around or there is a high temperature, or flammable gases. Does not claim antimicrobial antiviral protection. For example, it should not have any coating, otherwise it becomes a different class. Enforcement relief is in terms of regulations and listing requirements, quality system requirements, corrections and removal requirements, and UDI requirements. So there's a fair amount of enforcement relief from regulatory compliance requirements otherwise required in normal times. Okay, let's look into the list of EUAs for respirators that have come out, and there are 3 of them. The first one came out in March, which are NIOSH approved air purifying respirators for use in healthcare settings during response to the COVID-19 public health emergency. This was way in March. A lot has happened since then, and FDA has had to revise some of the EUAs for respirators. Here is one. Imported non-NIOSH approved disposable filtering facepiece respirators from certain jurisdictions excluding China. And I'll talk about why that is the case. And the third one is non-NIOSH approved disposable facepiece respirators manufactured in China. So there are special requirements for those manufactured in China, and we will look into that. Okay, so what's the policy change for N95 respirators? The guidance is that use only FDA cleared, NIOSH approved, or FDA authorized respirators whenever possible. Policy change is that they're going to discontinue allowing respirators not FDA cleared or authorized under an EUA. So this is a very, very significant move in which there has been a lot of respirators on the market that have not been meeting the standards. So FDA is concerned about that, and they are creating this policy change through these EUAs. So what are the NIOSH requirements? We hear about that. So these are requirements in 42 CFR Part 84. And N95 means 95% filtration efficiency for a sodium chloride aerosol. There's a test method that NIOSH does and certifies the respirators based on the results. Other classifications are R and P series. So if you have a NIOSH certified respirator, there is an EUA for that. What about non-NIOSH respirators? Because they can be used under some conditions. So what FDA is requiring is that their performance should be validated against standards in certain jurisdictions: Australia, Brazil, Europe, Japan, Korea, and Mexico. And there's a table in the EUA that provides these testing requirements. Or they can have marketing authorizations, for example, CE mark in Europe, certification of inclusion in Australia, Health Canada license, or PMDA MHLW license in Japan. Then it is permitted or authorized under the second EUA I talked about. What about China? There's a separate EUA on that. And this happened because when testing was done, more than 50% of the respirators were found to be substandard. So FDA came out with some special new requirements for manufacture in China. This is the issue. They were found to be substandard. So the policy change is that the EUA was revised on May 7, 2020 with new requirements specific to respirators manufactured in China. So here's the eligibility requirements. The manufacturer could have one or more NIOSH approvals for other models, and they should be certified. A manufacturer has authorization from Chinese National Medical Products Administration, or it was previously authorized by the FDA and has now passed testing by NIOSH. What other requirements are only manufacturers can request authorization, not importers. And FDA will cancel authorization based on additional surveillance and testing. So they are going to be pretty strict about this. Here is a resource that you should look up. This is going to change over time. This is Appendix A, where FDA has listed all the authorized respirators manufactured in China. And as of June 2nd, there were 21 of them. So this is going to change. So keep an eye on it if you are in this field. So again, a lot happening, and FDA is really coming out with new guidance, new policy changes. They are learning as we go. And this was what I learned by attending an FDA webinar on this topic just yesterday. They're going to be doing these webinars every 2 weeks. And if you are in this field and want to learn more, I highly recommend that you hop on that call and hear directly from the FDA and other agency representatives on that webinar. You will be able to ask questions. But I will be making these videos and providing you brief updates. So keep in touch, and the best way to do that is to sign up on my YouTube channel. And here's how you can do it. You can go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, or you can follow me on LinkedIn, where I will post a link, and you can follow me through that link on my YouTube channel. Send me your questions and comments and any other topic that you want to learn more about, and I'll be happy to make more video updates for you. Finally, thank you for your interest and attention, and I hope all of you are staying safe.